Okay, now you'll notice in your okay, as we begin the first part of our lesson on the charcoal, what I would like you to see is that the primary thing that we're going to do is we're going to explain to you how to use your drawing materials, which will include the vine, soft, medium, hard pencils, stumps, erasers, and a sandpaper block. Then we're going to look at something that most everyone learns in kindergarten today, the three shapes, which are the round, the square, and the triangle. Except what we're going to add to that is going to be three values, a light, a middle tone, and a dark. And these three values added to a round shape will create a ball, a rectangular shape will create this, and if you tilt the triangle back and make a cone out of it, it makes a shape like this. So what we've got is our three shapes, our three values, and I'm going to teach you how to combine them together, and this is what we call the language of art. This is where you'll actually combine things together to make it look like it's three-dimensional. Now, in addition to that, in our first lesson, we primarily want to review all of the materials with you and then let you experiment in class, and then we'll try some practice exercises such as the apple, which you'll notice has the combination of all the values, the light, the middle tone, the dark. Then we'll go to the next thing, which will be the square, and you notice how I show you how to do a box. Now, a lot of people have trouble drawing a box, but you notice how I started with a Y, and I added the dotted lines to it. You see, and then we add the values, and that makes a building, you see. And then the final thing, we're going to take a drawing of a conical shape, and we're going to actually tilt it back, a triangular shape, and make a cone out of it. And if you've ever been on the Chifuncta River, this is the Chifuncta River Lighthouse, and that's how you make a lighthouse. Okay, so each of these will be for you all to practice with. Okay, now I want you to feel free to ask any questions. The primary lesson for today is going to be to show you how to use your drawing materials. Okay, so with this in mind, let's review the drawing materials. Now, you can see me okay? We bring this television down just a little bit closer. Okay, and we'll just move the book a little bit. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is the drawing materials. And just like in the pencil sketching, when I get through, I want you all to just take these and experiment with them yourself, okay? Now, in the drawing materials, okay, first thing we want to notice, let's just draw little boxes here. We have the vine, and if you'll notice on your sheet, the vine says it's for shading. Okay, then we have the soft, the medium, and the hard pencils. And you notice the soft is for darks, the medium is for sketching, and the hard is for detail. Okay, and what I'm going to do is explain all of this to you today, and then let you experiment with them when you go back to the desk. And it's going to be a little awkward to you in the beginning, but I think you're going to find that it'll come to you very easily once you experiment with it a little bit. Now, this is what's known as vine. It's the natural charcoal. Now, the only problem with the vine, as you can see, excuse me, it goes on very easily. And I'll just put enough of it on there like that. But the only problem with it is it also comes off very easily. And see, when I blow it, how much of it comes off like that. So we don't want to use the vine for anything really, really dark. Notice for the vine, I put down the shading. Now, this is known as a stump or a blender. You have a large stump and a small stump. Here's your small and your large, depending on what you need it for. Now, we'll go ahead and cover that in there like that. Now notice that's created what we call a halftone. Excuse me. Now, this little square eraser, which I'll hold up where you can see it very clearly in the television, is known as a kneaded eraser, okay? And the reason I call it that is you knead it like dough. It's kind of like silly putty, okay? But it's not a mistake eraser. This is a drawing tool. So you're going to use this to come in and actually lift out highlights like that, you see? And then if you also want to take the edge of your paper and put it on here like this and do this, you can do that with it, you see? Did you, you can go on to the next part on that drawing now and go ahead and do the building and the tree, okay? You were wondering what to do, okay? Now, so we find that the kneaded eraser works very well as a drawing tool, as a cleaner, as it lifts highlights out. And then when it gets a little dirty, you knead it like dough. Okay? Now, so the primary reason for the kneaded eraser is the drawing tool, but it's also a good pacifier. If you're sitting there and you're nervous and you want to pull on something, it works really good like that. Okay? And you're going to find you're going to do that a lot. All right, now, we're going to now go to the soft pencil, and we're going to come in and put our dark area like this. And so now we find we have light, middle tone, and dark, you see. So the vine, remember, as we say on our notes, you can read this clearly on your sheet, it says for shading. The soft is for darks, and you see how dark that comes out. The medium, as it says on your sketching page right here, the 2B is the medium, and it's a kind of a middle tone with the same amount of pressure. And then the hard is for detail. And it'll give you a fairly good point. So you have your three major things, your vine, your soft, your medium, and your hard pencils. Now notice in our sheet, we also have the two stumps I mentioned to you, a small and a large stump. When we look at the gum eraser, I've actually substituted what's known as a magic rub because it doesn't crumble as badly and it works a lot better. We also have a kneaded eraser, which is what this is, and then we have a sandpaper block, and that's if you're at home and you need to sharpen your pencil. You can't put these in a regular pencil sharpener. If you put it in a regular sharpener, it'll grind it up. If you have an electric sharpener, that works well. Or if not, get your mother, your father, someone, an adult, to get a sharp razor blade or something. But don't try to do that yourself. Or, you know, adults naturally can do it. But we'll take this like this. And that's what you use if you have to sharpen it with a knife. And then you can get a good point on it like this, you see. And then you just peel it off as you use it. Okay, now, in our notes, I mentioned you'll also be furnished with a sketchbook, which you have. The can that I gave you has fixative in it. That's what you spray your picture with. You're going to get a drawing board, charcoal paper, pastels, pastel paper, and all of this you'll get as we go through the course. Now notice how I put this note here. The vine should be applied lightly for the middle tones. The dark should be done with a soft pencil. Now why don't we want to put the darks in with the vine? What happened when we did the vine? It all blew off, didn't it? So we put the vine in for the middle tones, soft for the darks. Pencil should be sharpened with a knife and a sandpaper block. Okay, and these are just notes for you to remember. And then last of all, the materials are interchangeable. And that just simply means that you can use whatever you want to use. You know, if you like the 2B better than one thing or use more vine than soft, that doesn't matter to me, however you want to do it. Now, any questions at all about any of the materials? I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. Okay, now let's move up here. And let's go to step 2, and that's going to be the 3 basic shapes. Okay, in the 3 basic shapes, now I'm sketching with an HB, you can use a 2B, HB, whatever. Now notice as I sketch, I'm sketching from my wrist and my elbow and my shoulder. Now, a lot of people come down when they sketch and they just want to do real tiny and bear down. And so you want to learn to loosen up. Also, notice I'm sketching from my shoulder. Notice I'm not drawing anything any darker, but that I can't erase it with a kneaded eraser. Now, if you have a heavy hand, you have to work on that. Okay, so first of all, we'll draw a first shape in there like that. Okay, now, move this up a little bit. All right. Now, that's our round shape. Now, I know you're wondering, well, why is he showing me this? Everybody learns this in kindergarten today. Everybody knows there's three shapes, the round, the square, and the triangle. Well, the reason I'm taking the time to show you this is that most everyone doesn't know that everything that you ever will draw forever is either going to be round, square, or triangular. And most people don't know this. And so once you learn to draw a round shape and shade it, then if you're doing an apple, an orange, or whatever else you might be doing, you'll find that it's very easy to understand it, okay, and to know what to do with it. So you begin to draw what you know rather than what you see. Okay, we'll go to the third part now, okay, which is the 3, and let's just move this up a little bit further. We'll come to the bottom of our paper now, and these are going to be the 3 basic values. Okay, now, values are what you add to your shapes with a light source to make it look three-dimensional. Now, here we have light, middle, and dark. Now, I'm letting the light be white to really illustrate it. Now notice how I'll put the vine on this. And the biggest thing most people forget is they forget to put the vine down. Now see again, I'll blow off the excess, and then I'm going to come around and take my stump, and I'm going to blend it. Now what have we got? Light, halftone, halftone. That's where most people stop, you see. Now, what I want to really drive home to you, okay, is the fact that what really makes the dark is your soft pencil. Now notice the distinction. Light, middle tone, and dark. You see how clear that is? Now that's what you have to make something look three-dimensional. Now let's go one step further. In illustrating this, we'll go to step 4. And we're going to combine values and shapes. Okay, now, first of all, we're going to sketch with either our HB or our 2B. Let's do our 2B since that's what we said we're going to use. I'll move this up just a little higher. Now what we want to do is we're going to draw each of these shapes three-dimensionally and add values to them. So the first thing we want to look at is the round shape. And remember what Mr. Casso said? Don't sketch this too darkly. Never make it any darker but that you can't sketch, you can't erase it with your kneaded eraser. And when you sketch it, draw it from your shoulder and your elbow and whatever. Don't, get a free, loose movement. All right, now, to have 3 values, we have to have a light source. So let's imagine the light comes from over here, and it's going to hit right here. Okay? And that's going to be our lightest area. Now, the first thing we want to do is the vine. Okay, now we'll blow that off. Now, notice again, I'll blow off the excess, and I'll take my stump. we'll do this. Now, what did I say? Is this a mistake eraser? No, it's a drawing tool. Now watch how I'll take this and just do my edges like this and like this. And of course, you can just work it and work it till you get it as round as you want it to be. Now notice also, my kneaded eraser is a good drawing tool. Likewise, I like to use my finger like this. It works real good. Okay, now let's see. This is not a trick question, but let's see if y'all understand what we're doing here. I have 3 values, and I've added a light to this ball, and it's hitting right here. Now, this actual ball, okay, it has, how many of the 3 values do we have in there right now? And it's not a trick question. It's just to try to see if you understand how many we have. Okay, what do you think, Megan? Go ahead and guess. Okay, now see, you said 1 and you said 3 because I have little parts of dark in here. See, now, like I said, it's not a trick question. It's just hard to describe this verbally. Now, you said I had 1 because I put the middle tone in, but really, by putting the middle tone and leaving that, I actually have a light and a middle tone. You see? Now, I have specks of dark in it because I haven't gotten the charcoal out completely, but watch what I mean when I say that I want it really, really dark in there. We're going to come across like this. And then we're going to go back and use our stump. Like this. Okay, now notice how that's really starting to look like a round ball. You get the idea? I've got a light, middle tone, dark, and then I'm going to drop down to my 2B because I want a little bit clearer shadow. Now watch what happens to it when I put that 2B up underneath there like that and really bring that shadow out. Now look at how that jumps off the page. Now you see how you have your light, middle tone, dark. All right, you see that reflected light? That's where the light bounces off of what's behind it. And it gives you a light area that's not as bright as this, but it separates the 2 shadows. You get what I'm saying? Now what we're teaching you here is to learn to draw what you know, not what you see. So the next time you draw a round object and shade it, okay, you want to remember that even if you don't see these in there, if you want it to look good in that piece of paper, that's what you've got to do. Okay? Now, let's go to the box. Now, here's where people have a lot of trouble with this box. So here's how we'll simplify it. We'll do a Y. Anybody can draw a Y. Okay? Now, notice how I'm going to make this line parallel to this one. You see this line right here? I'm going to make this line parallel to this one. Come across like this and make this one parallel to this. This one parallel to this one. This one parallel, and this one parallel. You see? Now here's what people have trouble with doing boxes. So they'll come in, and then they'll do like this. Y'all never did have that trouble, did you? Okay. Now, but if you'll just make this parallel to this parallel to this, and this parallel to that, you're not going to have that problem. Okay. Now, we've got 3 sides. And notice how I'm going to have a light source coming over my left shoulder again. I'm going to cover 3 sides and 3 values. So let's say we're going to make, now I'm the artist and I choose where the light's going to be. So I'm going to make the front part of it the light. Okay, and then I'm going to take my soft pencil. Now watch how the 3 values really start bringing it out. Light, middle tone. Now notice, because it's a flat side, I'm shading it diagonally. If I shaded it like this, it wouldn't stand out as much, you see? Now watch when I put my shadow on it. Look at how that jumps out. Now what do we call this again, this little light area here? It's called reflected light. That's the light that bounces off everything around it. Okay? Got that down? Now the last thing, we're going to draw a triangle, tilt it back and make a cone out of it. Have our light source coming from over here again to the over our left shoulder. And watch how it'll come down like this. Now remember how Mr. Casso is using this bond first every time I do it. Okay. Now here's light, middle tone. Again, you see those 2 values, Patricia? Okay, now watch what happens when I put the 3rd value in. There's my dark here. Here's my dark here. And then I'll turn it sideways a little bit, and I'll put my real strong dark in here. Now look how that conical shape now has a 3-dimensional effect. Now lots of times, you get the idea? Isn't it fun? Now lots of times you'll come in like this, and you'll make it a little bit too dark, so we'll have to come back and do this to lighten that up a little bit. Isn't that neat? Okay, now what I would like you all to do, I'd like you to take your materials if you don't have any more questions, and I want you to copy what Mr. Casso did in your sketchbook. If you use that one right there, I'll put this on maybe.